Like the majority of Americans, I believe that the Second Amendment guarantees military-style assault weapons.
Today I want to talk about the Second Amendment. I've made a video about this before, but I think it's an important topic because I still see so many people out there supporting the Second Amendment. And don't get me wrong, I agree with a lot of their sentiments, right? I personally believe that peaceful people have the right to own a firearm. Owning a firearm is not a crime, right? It doesn't create a victim. You have to have a victim to have a crime. And so if you shoot somebody with the gun, obviously that action is a crime, right? But the gun doesn't have a mind of its own, right? The gun doesn't have a mind of its own. It's just an inanimate object that is being used and controlled by another individual, another sentient being. So it's important to realize that peaceful people can own firearms peacefully, right? There's nothing wrong with a peaceful person who doesn't want to hurt anybody else and hasn't hurt anybody else owning a firearm. It's well within ethics, and it doesn't harm anybody else. But I think it's important to realize that we don't need the Second Amendment to have guns and gun rights, or whatever you want to call it. Because, and there's two reasons that stem off of this, two little tangents we have to talk about for a second as far as the Second Amendment. The first one is that the Second Amendment is not even needed. It's unneeded. And the second one is that it's actually harmful. Okay, so going to the very first one is unneeded. Why is the Second Amendment unneeded? Well, it's unneeded because you don't get rights from a government. It's not like you have to beg and plead and write up these little documents to a government, right, and expect them to actually support any of this. It's just nonsense. They're not going to do that, right? You get your rights not because a government gives you the rights, but because they're inalienable. Everybody who's alive, every human out here is supposed to have, any peaceful person is supposed to have the ability to do whatever they want, as long as they don't infringe on other people. That's supposed to be the deal, the world. That would be a peaceful world, right? So you don't need this system coming out here and telling you what you already have, right? Like if I have a house, I don't need some guy to steal 40% of my labor to say, hey, you got a house, and I'm going to protect your house. You know, like, hey, I'll pick my own protection services too on top of that, but I already know I got a house. Thanks for continually letting me know that, right? I already know my rights, so I don't need somebody else coming out here and telling me what my rights are, right? If anything, it's a way to mask up what rights you don't have. So you talk about the ones you do. The second thing is it's harmful. And why is it harmful? So the Second Amendment is harmful because it gives the illusion that the state has legitimacy in the first place. So it basically says, this system that's telling you what your rights is, or what your rights are, when you praise the Second Amendment, you're saying, thank you, system, for stealing my money against my free will, against peace, against freedom, and then telling me what things I can do, which means there's a large laundry list of items that I cannot do. So you don't need a Second Amendment or any of these amendments to tell you that peaceful people should be able to do whatever they want to do as long as they don't infringe on others. That's just the way it is. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it should have been for thousands of years. And unfortunately, in the year 2013, a lot of people still have not caught on to this concept that amendments only mask up the violence of the state. It's a form of pleading and begging to the state, a system that infringes on your rights while giving you the illusion that you have some. So you can have a gun because of property rights. That's the backbone argument here, is that property rights themselves are what enable you to have a firearm peacefully, because peaceful people can do whatever they want, and property is freedom stems off of property. Without property rights, we don't know who's aggressing on whom. I control. You can technically say own myself. I guess that's some people like saying that you own yourself. So I own and control myself, and my labor turns into resources, and I can voluntarily trade for these resources with others, right? Well, because of this, I should be able to do what I want with myself and my resources that I've peacefully acquired, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But the government comes out here and tells you, oh, these are the rights we're going to give you, and then they don't even abide by many of their own rules that they set for everybody else, while slowly eroding the freedoms that we do have and dividing people into stupid and ridiculous political parties that do nothing but steal and erode more rights while growing the size of government. So I hope everybody understands that going forward, you do not need any amendments to tell you that you have the right to bear arms. So thank you guys so much for your time. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.